defendant deceived Morgan Martin, an honest 18-year-old high school student who was eager to earn college credit in pursuit of his dream toward a computer programming degree. And while alone, without his parents, on a mere college visit, Morgan Martin became the victim of the defendant. The defendant deceived Morgan Martin in violation of New York General Business Law, Section 349. As you know, Your Honor, my name is Jack McGuire, and along with my co-counsel, James Barriere and Cameron Rich, we represent the plaintiff, Morgan Martin. On behalf of Mr. Martin, we have presented credible proof and testimony and exhibits to meet our burden of proof that the defendant deceived Morgan Martin. The testimony of Morgan Martin himself established that he was a high school student with potential who was eager to obtain college credit toward a degree in computer programming. No one questioned his honesty and credibility. Morgan Martin was the victim of deception by the defendant about the all-important subject of cost of tuition and financial aid. When Morgan Martin visited CPU on the fateful brief tour by himself, without his parents, he met with Dana Detter, who was not only the admissions counselor, but the financial aid counselor as well. Obvious proof of how discontent CPU was is seen in black and white in exhibit number 3, the financial aid application. Dana Detter admitted that FSL was a bank in Indiana. Dana Detter knew that CPU was actually taking kickbacks from FSL. The court will also recall Mr. Phillips was a former employee of CPU and designed the glossy brochure, or exhibit number 1. Your Honor, the deception is clear when you see what the defendant tried to hide from Morgan Martin. Way down at the bottom of the page, under all the photos, is tiny, tiny print that the credits were not actually transferable. Jordan Phillips admitted that he was not proud of the work that he did for CPU and was rightfully ashamed of the defendant. As Jordan Phillips testified, Dr. Shannon Charlton, the dean of CPU, had one goal in mind: not to provide a quality or fair education to students, but to simply fill seats and collect tuition money. The plaintiff called independent expert witness Dr. Chris Kringle. Dr. Kringle is the president of the National Association of Computer Colleges. As an independent expert who was not employed by CPU, Dr. Kringle confirmed that CPU failed nearly every national standard. CPU failed to have a qualified faculty. CPU failed to screen students who applied. CPU failed to charge reasonable tuition. And finally, CPU failed to graduate students who worked in their computer field. Dr. Kringle concluded that CPU was merely a diploma mill, or a college that accepted tuition and printed diplomas without providing a quality education. Further proof that CPU was deceptive is contained in Exhibit 2, or the so-called student loan application. Claiming that the document was an application is itself deceptive. There was no application. Anyone who applied was instantly admitted. So let's review the so-called proof presented by the defense. Shannon Charlton is the dean of the defendant and is obviously a witness interested in the outcome of this trial. Shannon Charlton actively participated in the deception to lure students and to simply fill seats and collect tuition money. Dana Detter is the admissions and financial aid counselor. By definition, a counselor is one who provides honest guidance and advice. Dana Detter provided no counsel to Morgan Martin. Incredibly, Dana Detter purposely left Morgan Martin alone in a room to sign an application and a student loan for $60,000. Morgan Martin did what every teenager would do: assume that he would be treated honestly and fairly by those in position of authority. The only other witness called by the defense was a former student, Casey Key. Casey Key was not deceived by the defendant because Casey Key was from a wealthy family who did not need to borrow a dime in order to pay for tuition costs. Casey Key knew nothing about Morgan Martin and only met him once in their years together at CPU. Compared to the clear and convincing documents as proof from the plaintiff, let's compare one of the documents offered by the defense. Defense Exhibit 2. The memo offers no proof of anything because the document itself is completely blank, no handwriting whatsoever. This document is as useless as a CPU diploma. Pursuant to New York General Business Law, Section 349, the plaintiff seeks to return 2 years of tuition in the amount of $60,000. In addition to actual damages, Morgan Martin also seeks triple damages as allowed with the court when the plaintiff proves that the defendant knowingly and willingly violated Section 349. Your Honor, we respectfully refer to the decision rendered by a New York State Court in Drew v. Sylvan Learning Center. The court in Drew properly concluded that the student was deceived by the defendant, and the court awarded damages in favor of the student pursuant to New York Business Law, Section 349. On behalf of Morgan Martin, we thank you for your time tonight and careful consideration of the evidence. The credible and honest proof is that Morgan Martin was victimized by the defendant. The defendant knowingly and willingly deceived Morgan Martin. The defendant is guilty of deceptive acts and practices under General Business Law, Section 349. The witness chair is now silent. You have heard all the testimony and seen all the exhibits. Morgan Martin, then an honest 18-year-old high school student, was deceived by the sophisticated and calculated deception of the defendant. Tomorrow morning, this court will move on to new cases. Tomorrow, the defendant will continue to collect thousands of dollars from unsuspecting students. Even the defense attorneys will return tomorrow to their offices and other clients. Your Honor, there is no tomorrow for Morgan Martin. Today is his one and only day in court. We ask for judgment.